talked a little about technology. Well, what can you actually do with the technology? What can you actually, what kind of usages does it support? Well, it's centered on essentially three main usages. Being able to watch and consume the Blu-ray 3D content that's coming out from the studios. This is also, this could be expanded to also show that the premium content that is being made available via Insider can also be consumed and developed within this usage here. We also think, again, the 3D content, user-generated content that are going to be coming from these phones, from the 3D camcorders, cameras, all these different devices, those are going to be put up on YouTube 3D. YouTube 3D has its own channel today, so we're going to be supporting that today, or supporting that in 2011. Also playing mainstream games, so games that are supported within the TriDef software. So TriDef is a company we're working with on doing the 2D to 3D conversion, and that allows us to be able to support essentially a subset of all the games that they have on their list of supported games. We're working closely with them on validating those games, making sure that those run well on first on second gen Intel Core, and then going into the Ivy Bridge and beyond. And again, sharing personal content, again, this is going to be important when it comes to those additional usages around quick sync and some of the other things around streaming the content. So again, this is how we're all positioning the usage, the overall experience, what you can actually do with the technology, because just providing the technology is not going to be enough. We're going to be able to make sure that it's going to be something that people want to do and they're going to be using every day. So we think of it all with watching movies, playing games, and being able to consume 3D content on the web. It's going to be very very compelling usages. So these are some of the usages we think that are going to be probably the most important when it comes to creating these or having these capture devices. The LG Thrill, the Blogi, the Nintendo 3DS, all these are going to be producing the camera, or sorry, the pictures and the video, user-generated content, either in MPEG-4, MVC, MTS, ABC, HD, or in the JPS side-by-side format from RealD or MPO. So these file formats are going to be all generated out there, and we're going to have to be able to support all of that within our implementation. But we think from a usage standpoint, you either have transferring that content to a Stereo 3D ready PC, so you'll be able to view it and consume it on that PC. Convert the content, the 2D content that's out there today, using various applications, converting that to 3D, uploading that content to YouTube 3D, posting it to Facebook, creating a slideshow and being able to view those 3D photos through maybe wireless display to a 3D TV, or sharing it to a 3D phone. So I think that as time goes on, we're going to see more and more 3D phones out there, and people want to be able to consume and watch that content on their 3D phone. Okay, so we see that these are the overall usages. And we talked about what we're going to be able to do. This is how we would think that people would actually use the technology as we go through the next couple of years. Okay, so we talked about the usages. Let's talk, and then we're going to have James come up and talk about how we're doing things within the software and the hardware to do this stuff.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everybody. My name is James Scaife. This is my first time presenting at IDF, so I got this white shirt on. And, go out to lunch and I have to make sure that I don't spill anything on my shirt, so I don't get any bad scores for having, some spill on my shirt. But anyways, as Andy said, we have to go through and make sure that there are ways in which applications and hardware is developed and enabled to hit some of the usage models that he was talking about. And over the next couple of slides, I'll talk about a little bit about, from an application standpoint, what APIs, SDKs that Intel has provided publicly on our software.intel.com site for applications to develop for 3D. And then after that, I'll talk a little bit about some of the hardware enabling that needs to happen to enable on Intel platforms. Okay. So here we have our media SDK, I don't know, show of hands if anybody has downloaded or seen our media SDK on software.in on intel.com. A few of you guys, okay. So right now we have the Beta 4, Media SDK 3.0 Beta 4 available with some of these enhancements. And, you know, we got enhancements around transcoding for MVC, encoding and decoding, plus increased performance and all that. Within that Media SDK, we also have some video conferencing items. And those video conferencing items, like Andy said, if we're looking at, you know, to the future, you know, some of these video conferencing enhancements will help, you know, in that 3D end-to-end video conferencing solution. That would be, you know, nice to sit in front of and have a great experience. So, and let me dive into some of the MVC encode and decode, transcode capabilities. So here we have just kind of a small, simplistic view on what we have for NRBD SDK 3.0. Definitely there's the sample code that's sitting out there on the website now. But I just wanted to hit a couple of notes here. You know, our SDK, so there's limited support for MVC encode and decode. You know, in decode, we have a limit of 16 reference frames per view. Okay, so per left and right view, we got 16 reference frames per view. If you look at the flow here, you know, kind of a simplistic view, going from, you know, you take that MVC stream in, send it through the Media SDK API. You know, first it's going to go through the decoding, and the decoding is going to happen in sequence. We need to make sure that the left and the right views and the frames are, you know, kept in sequence, so that we make sure that there's no synchronization problems when you're going back to replay that content. So moving that over to our video processing unit. After the frames are processed, finally moved into an encoder, and then ultimately your MVC stream is encoded back to the file format in which the application wanted the target. So the next slide I have here shows kind of a pseudocode, maybe a little bit hard to read. You know, I'm not sure if I'm going to go line by line here, but just kind of a couple of points on this. You know, as far as encode, or as far as setting it up, there's init calls that has to happen. You know, initializing the decode, initializing how many target views, initializing the processing unit, as well as initializing for encoding as well. So all that needs to set up first. Then you go into your looping of actual transcoding, you know, decode, processing, and then encoding the content. And then ultimately, you know, closing out and saving the file back to the hard drive or transferring it to an external device. Any questions here?